some will refer to it as a student support services or student services. Basically, when we talk of student affairs, we are talking about that area that encompasses the non-academic aspects of higher education that contributes to student growth, well-being, and success. This area revolves around creating an inclusive and supportive campus environment that fosters personal, academic, and social development, with the primary goal of ensuring that our students have a fulfilling and well-rounded university or higher education experience. Now, I will attempt to quickly comment on why student affairs matter in today's higher education institutional landscape. Our today's higher education institutional landscape is characterized by mass participation, high rates of mental health issues, employability challenges, and a very important factor, which I term as demographic diversification. These challenges or these factors pose some serious or critical issues for higher education practitioners in today's institutions of higher learning. Therefore, calls on us as professionals in this area not to consider higher education student services or student affairs as a peripheral add-on area, but rather we need to refocus, strategize, and see how we can improve our environments in our various institutions of higher learning to allow our students to develop not just academically, we're talking about socially, emotionally, well, then so that they can go out of the institutions to face the world as we have it out there. So by way of introduction, this is what I have to put across. I will go to my panelists because we are going to have a panel discussion. I will ask one or two questions, we'll get their feedback, and then we can progress. So I'll start with Prof. Njoka. Prof. Njoka, please. This is my first question. The same question will go for Dr. Chidozie. So please, you take note so that we can have your responses. Prof. Njoka, what has changed most dramatically in student affairs over the past 5 years, in your view?
Thank you, Professor Apak, for this good question. When I was introducing myself, I forgot to say I've worked with the student affairs for the last 15 years, meaning I have some experience with working with the student affairs. I can really compare what was there 5 years ago and what is there now. And I would note a few things have happened drastically. One of them, I would note that we have all shifted to social media. Now, the social media involves many of us, both the community and the students. And I would say the social media has been very positive, but to some level, the social media also doesn't have limitations, which has led to some negativity. For example, the social media in the past 5 years has really grown, exposing our students to very different cultures, some which are not African, and a few other, for example, LGBTQ+. These are things that have come up. They were there in a small way, but this time they have really been expressed. Another drastic change I've noted is an increase in mental health cases. For example, we have very many cases of drug and substance abuse, We also have gambling. Gambling is something that has troubled our students in a big way of late. And I note some students have used their fees for gambling. And when all is done and the parent understands that the student cannot continue because of fees, they end up in mental depression. Also, we have very many broken relationships, unlike in the past. This is something I feel has happened drastically, and I would associate this with this much exposure to the social media. I note also
Yeah.
preferences have changed. 5 years ago, students enjoyed staying within the university campus where there were rules, where they were protected. But of late, students are preferring staying outside where there's no control. And here is where they get exposed to all these types of drugs, all types of behavior. And I think this can change. For
Good.
example, in my university,
Yeah.
I note that most of the students, the first years are the ones who are able to stay in the hostels. Come the next semester, they want to run out of the university campus. I think when they're out there, they are not well protected. Lastly, the dress code. This is something that has really changed. 5 years ago, we used to say dress below the knee for the ladies. It came to the knee, now it has gone upper. You find all sorts of things, and these are a few changes I've noted in the last 5 years. Thank you, Dr.
Thank
Park.
you,
This is
thank you,
among many.
thank you,
Thank you.
Professor. Thank you. We want to hear the thoughts of Dr. Chidozie on this very question. What has changed most dramatically in student affairs over the past 5 years?
Thank you, Professor Apak. It's my honor once again to be here. I want to say that most of our thoughts align significantly.
Yeah.
I listened to Professor Apak, run through the introduction, and my senior colleague, Professor Njoka, also bear his thoughts on that important subject. I began to think that you probably copied my notes before now. For the avoidance of doubt, let me quickly say that for me, what has changed significantly from the context upon which I speak is the demographic movement, or what you call demographic configuration of the current student body. I remember in our time, we're almost 20 or early 20s when we went to the university. But right now, young people are in a hurry to jump out of high school, or what we call secondary school in Nigeria, and get admission into the university. And sadly, their parents are complicit in even making them come to school very early. I understand that in my country, the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board had to move against this growing trend to peg the year of admission into universities to a certain age, and parents went agog to protest in that policy, and eventually JAMB had to revert in a sense by giving opportunities to exceptionally talented students who are also underage, permit me to use that word. So it is the demographic configuration of the current student body that I want to mention as the first thing that's changed in the student advisory body in the past 5 years. Again, I would also align my thoughts with the Gen Z, the Alpha generation movement, which somehow ties, is not around the demographic configuration, and other peculiar characteristics of the Gen Zs and the Alpha generation. One thing I know about this generation is that they're ambitious, they are there, they are demanding, and permit me to say they also feel entitled in their reasoning. I also agree with the mental health issues from my two colleagues who have spoken. I will not overflow that for time. I also agree with widening income gaps, as Professor Njoka mentioned, and associated economic downturns among the parents or the benefactors of these as students. Let me wrap my head quickly around the use and abuse of technology and social media. Professor Njoka did mention that while he was speaking. I want to say that the so-called digital citizens have taken technology to another height. The use of TikTok and Snapchat and Instagram and even generative AI has continued to create challenge for student management. There's a book I usually recommend to my students when I share my thoughts around the harms or the dangers of social media. It's a book that may be interesting to this global audience because I see there are a lot of young people joining us in this very exciting conversation. That book was authored by Jonathan Haidt. Haidt is spelled A-I-D-T, Jonathan Haidt.
Okay.
The title of that book is The Anxious Generation. The Anxious Generation. It was published in 2024, relatively very new. And that book is so insightful to the extent that the man went down, memory lane, looking at generations from 1970s to 80s to 90s, then to the so-called Gen Zs and Alpha generation, showing us raw statistics.
So Doc, please, can we, our time, so if you could wrap up on this, because I have some further questions I'll need to get your thoughts on.
We are lecturers, we are used to lengthy conversations.
I can understand,
That my concern is that Africa has to take this very seriously because we have the youngest population of people within the age range for which we're having this conversation. 25 of age. Thank you, sir.
That's okay. Thank you so much for this insightful contribution. I think I share with you on this. Is it technological advancement that our students? It is a two-edged sword. It comes with its strengths. It also comes with its challenges for us as practitioners. My next question I want to quickly address. We have just a few minutes to move out of this session to get into engaging our participants. So just quickly, Prof, can you give us your response on this? What is that one challenge student affairs leaders must prepare for over the next 5 years? Just briefly, Prof. Ujoka.
Thank you, Professor Park. In the next 5 years to come, as Professor Chindoze has just mentioned, we are already dealing with the Gen Zs and the Alpha generation. And as he has correctly mentioned, these are people who seem to be knowing everything. I would note they are to some level quite rebellious. I think we are going to deal with a generation that is going to be dependent a lot on AI and it's
we are losing. We lost you momentarily, but you are back. So go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I'm saying we have to be ready to deal with the AI generation, whereby AI is going to be dictating many of those things, and it can also be misleading. So let's be ready for a rebellious generation, a generation that might not have a culture which you call your own, which will have so many cultures intertwined until you be getting confused. Also, let's be ready to deal with a generation that is very difficult to control. I know when Gen Z decides I will do it, they don't look back. These are the people we are going to be dealing with. When you punish them, they want to understand the depths. Our time, you could be punished and nothing much was happening. So let us brace for this. Thank you, Professor Park.
Yes. Dr. Chindoze, can we have your thoughts on this? I think Prof. Ujoka has made some very significant contributions. Let's hear your thought. What is that one challenge student affairs leaders must prepare for over the next 5 years?
My concern is rather troubling. My major concern in the next 5 years that we should prepare for is what I call the boy challenge or the male student challenge. Some have called it the boy crisis, others call it global pandemic, worse than any pandemic have suffered. How do I mean, sir? The boys or the male students lack motivation, they lack ambition, they are discouraged and distraught in class, and they have lost concentration. The issue is that there's a declining agency, aspiration, and motivation among male students, and this is rather a global pandemic. Again, the girls are more aspiring, they are more exploring, they are adventurous, they are motivated, they are independent, and of course, they're having better grades. One of my favorite authors called it, among the boys, the will to fail, that they already have willed to fail. And among the girls, he says that they have willed to succeed. Again, I want to recommend a book, and that will help us because of the kind of audience we have. That book was authored in
Yeah.
2022. Richard Reeves. The title is very telling. It says of boys and men.
Okay, so
boys and men.
you know what we'll do? I think we can get the suggested reading list from you so that we can share with participants, I think, as we go along. But those are very important things that will help us navigate our student affairs challenges.
Like they are more interested. All right. I mean, like Professor Njoka did say, these boys are more interested in gaming, in betting, in forex, and I've seen these vices destroy the most powerful potentials among male children. Yes. So it's a global pandemic. So my problem is that in the next 5 years, we are out to deal with a male generation that is laid back, that lacks agency, lacks aspiration, and lacks motivation.
Yes. And I think we all of these things are as a result of the kinds of students that are coming into our university. We spoke about the demographic diversification. We have very diversified categories or groups of students that are accessing higher education these days. Culturally, age-wise, and even gender, we are seeing a trend. If I will add to what you are saying, the universities in Ghana and where I am working, we are seeing a higher trend of females accessing higher education than males.
Exactly.
The enrollment figures are pointing to this. And this is something that as professionals, we need to be mindful of. Going forward, we will have the numbers changing, where we'll have more females in our higher institutions of learning than males. It will call for us to reconfigure a lot of things because we are set up mostly to cater for more males than females. But with this trend, it will call for us to go back to reconfigure and find solutions to even these numbers that are coming in. Thank you. My last question before we go to the room to engage our participants is to you, my two panelists. Please, Prof, can you help us answer this question? What is that one leadership lesson every dean of students or student affairs professional should learn early? Maybe you have some experience in your role as a professional. What should you learn early?
Thank you, Professor. One of the things I feel every practitioner in the Dean of Students office ought to have is basic counseling skills. Without that, we might not go very far. I remember one of my experiences is when late in the night, a lady came with a child, and the child was left on my table, and now I was left wondering, what next? Do I take the child to the police? What do I do next? And somehow I was able to look for this lady. I was able to look for the parents, and somehow on the note, the child is alive. I also remember one time, one man came and he had a rope with them to my office, and he told me, Professor, now I'm going to hang myself. And I couldn't ask you saying what because I couldn't see a rope. So we need to be empathetic. That's a skill we need to have. Another one, we need to be good mentors. I think with these three main skills, the Office of the Dean of Students would be of a lot of assistance to our students. Basic counseling skills, mediation, and mentorship, I feel this is a skill we should have. Thank you, Professor.
Yes, thank you. I will add one, but I will get the thoughts of Dr. Chidozie on this.
Thank you so much, Professor Apak. If I'm not mistaken, one leadership lesson we all need to take away as professionals, I think we need to understand that every student is unique, not only understanding it theoretically, we must be seen to be doing so, and with every one of them accordingly. This is very important. I know that the kind of curriculum that we have designed in our public universities is the sort that does not prioritize the uniqueness or individuality of many of our students, especially on gender basis. So that is one leadership lesson we need to learn. This is also related to the kind of curriculum we should begin to design right now. For instance, in Covenant University, I want to share our experience here. We have a customized, program, customized curriculum, if you will, that integrates the tripartite nature of man. That is his spirit, his soul, and his body. This is important because we award degrees in public universities just based on the fact that students are competent and the fact that they have met certain categories of qualifications. And of course, we mentioned character in the passing. But in Covenant University, we have customized programs envisioned by Dr. David Oyedepo, the founder of this university. We call it TMC, Total Man Concept. And that curriculum encompasses, like I said, the tripartite nature of man. Again, we have DLD, and that one is very important since this question is related to leadership. We call it Diploma in Leadership Development, housed by our ALDC, African Leadership Development Center. So in that program, we try to develop character, competence, integrity, negotiation skills, vision, values, wisdom, conflict management, etc. It's a clever way of blending our curriculum into developing transformational leaders who will be able to transform, of course, the battered image of the African race. And finally, EDS, what we call Entrepreneurial Development Studies, is a program also envisioned by the founder of the university, the chancellor. And this program is geared towards creating, job creators, as a matter of fact, business skills, financial literacy, design thinking, and project management. And this has validated our operations in Covenant University. Most of our students already own businesses while they're in school. They're already employers of labor. And our university has been, of course, over the years, winning the university with the best graduated students.
I think Doctor has gone more than the one, but I think for the sake of time, we will make progress. I'm sure our participants will have questions. They will have some contributions that will require us maybe to add to what we are saying. So to wrap up and then to turn attention to our participants, I will quickly add that as professionals, we also need to develop the leadership skill of empathy. That is something that we need to have because we are dealing with students, and as Prof. Njoka rightly stated, who are diverse in the way they do things. We have a very unique group of students with us. We need to develop that sense of empathy to see these young ones who come through us as maybe our own children, our own sons and daughters, that we need to understand their uniqueness, their diversity that they come with. That will enable us to be able to assist them through the mentoring, the counseling, all the services that we need to provide for them. So that is what I'm going to add to one leadership lesson we all need as professionals in this day and age of our work as student affairs professionals. So we'll spend some time now. We want to engage our participants. I will pose a few questions as the moderator. I've seen some questions in the box. I think Ajua will help us with that. But before Ajua comes on board to read the questions, I've seen her indicate that she will bring the questions to our attention. I want to quickly engage our participants with these questions, thought-provoking questions. My first question, and of course we'll give the participants, all who are in the room, the opportunity to answer, is what topics should student affairs professionals prioritize? That's my first question. My second question will be, what resources will be most useful for us as student affairs professionals in today's higher education institutions across the continent? And then the last question will be, what challenges can we solve together as members of the Education Collaborative? So with these questions, I think we will give opportunity to the participants to try to give us some responses to these questions and also to make their contributions and to ask questions. our panelists are waiting to help deal with these questions. So Adwoa, if there are questions that are already in the chat box, can we have that even as we give the opportunity to colleagues who are ready to give us their input? Thank you.
Yes, please, Prof. Apak. We do have a question in the chat. So Jane says, this question is to Dr. Chidozie because he spoke to the boy pandemic, right? The male student population crisis.
Yes.
And so she asks that what could be the root cause of the boy challenge, yet literally they are the ones that excel in their academics.
Well,
Dr.
Chidozie, I'm sure you heard the question. Can we get your response to that? Now, are you there?
I think we may have lost Dr. Chidozie briefly.
So maybe Prof. Njoka, can you give a response to that even as we wait to reconnect to Dr. Chidozie?
Thank you. Very good question. What happened to the boy child? Yet he seemed to be performing very well, but at last the boy child seems not to be doing very well. I think mostly in African culture, the boy child was meant to be a hardcore, somebody who would do hard things that the ladies wouldn't do. And I believe in most of our governments, a lot of attention went to the girl. You see, naturally, ladies are created to talk, to speak out themselves, so the girl could cry, and much attention went that side. So they find when boys are being looked at, when schools are looking for pupils to go to school, in most cases, when they target the girls because they are most vulnerable. Like in Kenya, we have the Maasai community, whereby they marry at a very early age. What the government did is they put all their efforts towards that. So I think much attention shifted towards the girl child, and somehow the boy child got forgotten. And since this happened at an early age, as they grow up even to the universities, you find that also reflecting. I feel our curriculum, in most examples, you find that most of the examples being given are on the girl child. So our feeling there's a lot of efforts being put towards the girl child, and the boy is somehow left. In fact, in Kenya, sometimes we think a boy can survive without much help, but a girl would always need assistance. With that attitude, I feel maybe this is what has led to the boy child being forgotten to some level, and the girl child is doing quite well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think this issue is all over. I mean, on the continent, we are seeing it. But the issue of whether the boy child is doing better, I think the person, the colleague who asked the questions spoke about the boy child doing better. I think that is contestable. We are seeing even graduation rates reflecting that, because we have more ladies getting into the institutions of higher learning, they graduate at a higher rate than even the guys. And so it's debatable. But the bottom line is that we are beginning to see a trend where we are getting more females accessing higher education institutions than the males. And that is beginning to worry, because the graduation rates also reflect, that we are getting more females graduating from institutions of higher learning now than the males. And so that is where I think the thought is that, look, we may be paying more attention to the girl child than maybe we do to the boy child. And this is where the debate is. But a colleague will say we need to pay attention to all of them. We need to, the same attention we pay to the girl child, we should begin to think about the boy child as also being vulnerable, as also needing the same support and help like the girl child, so that we may not be solving one problem by creating another problem. we should look at how we can solve all the problems that concern our boy child and then our girl child.
Maybe
Do we have
Professor.
Dr. Chidozie on now? Ajua?
No, please. He is working to join shortly.
That's okay. So I
Thank
think
you.
the participant wanted to get Dr. Chidozie's feedback. So when he joins, we'll give him the opportunity to respond to that.
Yes,
Do we
sir.
have any hand raised or a question?
Yes, we have another question, Prof.
Yeah.
Apak. So Joy is asking, what role do you see artificial intelligence and digital platforms play in the future of student affairs? And what lessons have been learned from implementing online or hybrid student support systems? So they want to know the role of AI and what lessons have been learned from online student support systems.
Yeah, AI, from where I sit, is a two-edged sword. It enhances learning, it enhances the student experience in higher institutions of learning. At the same time, it also poses a lot of challenges. We are dealing with the ethical usage of AI across most of our institutions of higher learning, where it is felt that rather than students doing things on their own, they rely so heavily on AI that we are beginning to lose that ingenuity, creativity that should go with they doing their own things. In fact, this AI thing in itself is also exposing them to a lot. As my colleague, Prof. Njoka rightly stated, in those days, and I want to expand it to involve technology. In those days, students hardly could sit in their rooms and engage in something like gambling, because for you to even stake any, what do you call it, place a wager, or you needed to go to maybe a shop or a casino. But these days with technology, students can just sit with any appliance and then engage in gambling, for example. And we are seeing the after effect of some of these things. We also see that even in learning, when students are given assignments where they are required to make their own input, because we are not guided by sufficient, let's say, policies on the usage of AI, students renegade from doing these things by themselves, but they just go to AI, produce anything, and then forward it. They are beginning to lose their own human input or creativity, which is affecting learning. So AI has its strengths, and that is where we need to all be conscious, rise up to the occasion, make sure that we harness the strengths of AI these days in learning, and then help deal with the other side of AI by putting in place the necessary policies that will guide the ethical use of AI. AI has come to stay, and so we cannot run away from it. I think Dr. Chidozie has come in. Before I give Prof. Njoka the opportunity to respond to this question, I want us to go back and allow Dr. Chidozie to respond to that initial question that came on the boy child being neglected.
Yes.
Doc, you are welcome back. We lost you momentarily.
Thank you so much, sir. I apologize.
Yes, there was a question that required your input.
Yes, sir. So, Dr. Chidozie, since you spoke about the boy-child pandemic, so to speak, there was a question for you, and the question says that what could be the root cause of the boy challenge? Yet literally they are the ones that excel in their academics.
Very interesting question. I suppose there could be many factors, but because of our time, I want to say that what I identify is the absence, or rather the shortage of role models and mentors for male children. This is connected to what my senior colleague mentioned earlier about, Professor Njoba did mention, Njokas, forgive me, did mention about disrupted family structures, disjointed families. I think during the introduction, about family networks being broken and battered and all of that. So I think it has to do with absence of strong role models, male role models who would guide these young people and hold them accountable at all times. That is number one. Number two is also very important. The issue is that the male-dominated career paths have also been, would you say, also been fizzled out by the entrance of technology and the dominance of technology. How do I mean? In the 70s, 80s, and 90s, we had this male-dominated, career paths, the engineering, construction, where the muscles and all of that were, what qualified men to have good jobs. But now, you mentioned about reading lists. I'll maybe spare you that for now. One of the authors did mention about the growing industry called the HEAL industry. HEAL, HEAL. HEAL is a powerful acronym that encompasses H for health, E for education, A for administration, and L for literacy. HEAL industry, health, education, administration, and literacy. These are the most robust industries now, but sadly too, you will agree with me that the male factor also comes to play. This industry is dominated by female because it has to do with some soft skills that men are not too eager to grab. I think those are the two important factors I mentioned for now.
Yeah, that was wonderful. I think the panel has made a good effort to answer the question. I think there was a question on AI. Adjoa,
Yes.
can you get that question
Yes,
read out
please.
for us so
Let
that
me
we take
try.
the input of Prof. Njoka and then Dr. Chido. Then there is also a hand. I can
Yes.
see Milka has raised the hand so that we can
Yes.
give opportunity to Milka
Yes,
to make
please.
his contribution. Yeah.
Yes, sir. While I find the question, maybe Milka can proceed.
Okay.
so that
Okay.
I can.
So Milka, please, can we hear you? Can you unmute? And then
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm very grateful to be here. I didn't want to appreciate my dean, Professor Frederick Joka.
Thank
He
you.
she has given the talk he does. I just want to say about the boy child. When we come to the girl child, it was a campaign which was done a very long time by women. I remember they went to Belgium. It was not easy when we came to African system where it is patriarchic. So I always ask myself, can men do the same campaign or better campaign than women so that our boy child will be at another level? Otherwise, if we leave them like that, it's like they don't have the role model. And I have seen this one, even the lecturers, men, when we come to the ladies, they pronounce themselves that they are well able, they are highly self-esteem. But when it came to men lecturer, there may be no role model coming from dress code, because to me, that one is very important. So therefore, as a lecturer and the people in the education system, we really need to raise the boy child to another level. As I teach, the boy child, they sit at the back. They are afraid to sit in the front. And they'll never ask you any question. When we come to presentation, the girls, they domineer the whole system. Come to teaching practice, where I am, the boy child, they are unable to prepare. They are unable to complete their documents. But with the girls, the teaching is super. The documentation is super. So you can imagine who will marry these girls we are really holding hands on. I'll desire the men who are here and any other men in Kenya, can we campaign for the boy child? And we put all the input, we raise their self-esteem. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I can see more hands. Adjoa, we have quite a number of hands being raised. And our time too is, we have just some few minutes to hand over to Adjoa to wrap up. So can we quickly give opportunity to those who have raised their hands to make their contributions? I also want to remind participants of my questions. I am still to get some responses on the questions I posed. What topics should student affairs professionals prioritize? What resources would be most useful in handling these topics that we may think we need to prioritize as student affairs professionals? And what challenges can we resolve together as members of the education collaborative? Please, so I can see the name is Dut. Is it Dut? Please, can you unmute and then...
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. My name is quite difficult. It's Nilotic names.
Okay.
My name is Duas.
Okay.
Duas Whitlock.
Okay.
Yeah.
So can we have your contribution?
Yeah, on that matter, on the question that you first stated, like what challenges do we face, and also what resource should we use to address the challenges that we are facing? In that matter,
yes,
I think
please, can we hear you?
Yeah, in that matter, I think our institution sometimes focus on thing or on the thing that that of only the clear future, and they forget to look into detail how those systems are being implemented by the lower management staff. For example, in for the case of his school, you can find that the system is good. Students are the policies are written very well, and people pretend to follow them. But if you go to the actual sun, if you are not putting too much attention on detail on how people are working, sometimes the lower units or the staff themselves may forget or may ignore to address the small problem that students are facing. And those small problems, if they are left unaddressed for some time, it may also cause differentiation from the students. Sometimes students can think that they are not being valued, or sometimes they think that we are not important, and decide to drop out of school or to involve in some games that they feel like they are being considered.
Yeah.
In that matter, I think.
Yeah. So I think we need to. Our time is. And there are quite a number of contributors online. I've seen some. Yeah. So if dude, so maybe you should. We could still chat, but can we give opportunity to others to also make their contributions? I think your point has been well noted.
Yes, so I would read the two questions in the chat, and then perhaps either of our speakers can. Yes, please. So the next question is, how can we engage parents as stakeholders of the awards education? And then the next one is, how do we address the divergent ideas on leadership between university management and student leaders? Okay. So how do we address...
So let's have our panelists. Prof, can you give us your response to the first question? So that because of time, because we may be having it over very soon to Adwa to wrap up. We've almost exhausted our time. So can you deal with the issue about Prof. Parents? How can we engage parents?
Oh, yes. Thank you so much. Yeah. How can parents be engaged? I want to say in this student life, it's very key that when a student reports to any university for the first time, we get all those details. And the dean of students being the bridge between the students and the management ought to be following up so closely with the student, and especially those with the special needs or might need special care, and get into contact with the parents. And out of my experience, almost all parents, once informed about the affairs of their students, they come in handy. You consult with them, and this is well resolved. I remember in my university, once in a while, we have run something we call a clinic, whereby we call the parents to know the affairs of these students, because we noted some, we call them long-term students. They are never career students. They are there year after year. They will never graduate. And the parents were very happy about this invitation, So I feel if we involve parents in the student affairs so that they can learn, they can also understand what their students are facing, this would help a lot, and especially in the completion rate. Maybe I would advise others, why don't you try a clinic day? It might not be used as a clinic or a parents day, whereby the parent comes, they are free to see what you people offer. Because most parents, once you release your child to the university, you assume this is a mature person, you only wait for the degree, and I note this is quite wrong. So kindly let parents take great part in the student affairs. Thank you.
Yes, and I can see a comment. I think somebody has made a contribution. I think the person is suggesting we have what we call cooperative learning, where institutions of higher education and parents come together constantly, find avenues to come together constantly on the development of the children or the students who are in the care of the university. And I think it ties to what Prof. I just said, that can we organize some kind of clinic, you call it clinics, but can there be opportunities where parents can constantly interact with the institutions when they are children in school to know how their children or their wards are faring? Yes, Ajwa, there was a question on the second question was on we lost
Yes.
Dr. Chidozie, but there was a
Yes.
question on curriculum. Yeah, can we
The
get
question-
that?
Yes, sir. The question on how we address the divergent ideas of leadership between university management and student leadership.
Yeah, I think just before Prof comes, we need to engage.
Sure.
We need to collaborate. You know, that antagonistic, seeing that students are always out there to unduly put pressure on management of institutions of higher learning, where we see them not as partners, but as, pressure groups that it's not helping us. So my candid answer is that leadership of our institution of higher learning must engage our students at all fronts. They are a very strategic group when it comes to the development of our institution of higher learning. And I can share, we have engaged our students to the extent that students are doing a lot to help improve student lives. And as we have shared at education collaborative platforms, students to the extent that they mobilize and support us with infrastructure development to cater for their own residential needs. It is because we are engaging them. And we have an open door policy where our students can interact with us at any time. We listen to them and we help them. I think this is the way to go. This is how we can bridge that gap. Prof. Njoka, we need to quickly wrap up and hand over to Ajwa. She has 10 minutes to summarize.
I would know there shouldn't be any antagonism between the management and the students, because at the end of the day, you are all a university.
Yes.
For example, in our university, newly elected leaders, including class representatives, we take them through a very organized training, whereby the way they were campaigning and promising, now they learn, and now it's time to implement. So through leadership training by professionals, this can really assist, so that these students can understand their role in the university, their role in the various positions. So I will still continue saying, let the student leaders have a thorough training. I don't have issues in the institutions. Thank you, Professor.
Yeah. We've got Dr. Chidozie, but please, your take on this. I think the question had to do with how we could bridge that gap in terms of the leadership between institution of higher learning and we have just some 2 minutes. We need to hand over. We are to Ajwa to wrap up. So if you could give us your take on it. Ajwa, let Prof, can you read the question so that we take 2 minutes of feedback from Dr. Felix Chidozie on that question?
Yes.
Before we wrap up.
The question was on how to address the divergent ideas on leadership between university management and student leaders.
On mute. Dr. Chidozie, you are muted. Can you, let's get your take in 2 minutes so that we can hand over to Ajua.
I'm not quite sure I heard that divergent leadership issue between the management and the students.
Yes.
How
Can you hear me,
how
sir?
are we able to bridge that gap if it does exist? Yeah.
I think something that comes to mind is that we need to have younger generation of professionals who rise to that management level. This is very important. They can think alongside the way the Gen Zs and younger generations think and be able to initiate programs that can help them to better appreciate some of these issues we are raising. So I think that is what most universities are trying to do.
Yeah.
So I was just saying that we need to have younger generation of management professionals who can relate better with these students and think alongside them the way their minds work. That's what I said in a nutshell, sir.
Prof. Apak, please, you're muted.
We would love to deal with all the questions that are coming in, but I think we have just 5 minutes. We will hand over to Ajua to wrap up. Ajua, can you take over now?
Yes, please. Thank you very much, Prof. Apak. Thank you, Prof. Njoka, and thank you, Dr. Chidozie. This has been a very, very interactive session, and I know there are a lot more questions and comments, but the good thing is the conversation does not end here. We will carry it forward. So I'll just take a few minutes just to speak to us about the Education Collaborative's journey to expanding our offerings to involve the student services area. And so this would help us be able to have these conversations on a more personal level, even outside of today's session. So for us at the collaborative, we see that student services essentially is the range of support systems and resources that are available to students beyond the classroom that enhance their academic success, their personal development, and their well-being. All those student services help students outside the classroom. They also do contribute to their performance in the classroom. And the functions that exist, I know that they are not limited to the ones we have here. We have quite a number of professionals on the call who can definitely speak to the various functions, but there are residential life, health and wellness, disability services, diversity and inclusion, new student orientation, and then international student services. This may have different names in different institutions across the continent. And so for us, sort of our why in expanding our offerings to include students is that we notice that there is growth in student enrollment, and there is also an increase in diversity of the populations. And I think our panelists spoke to this earlier as well. So we see students from different races, from different social backgrounds, different religious backgrounds, and there are also rising expectations for these students to succeed in their journeys in the university. And so we recognize that while there have been reforms in curriculum and academia, student services are either underdeveloped, they are fragmented, or they are under-resourced. So the issue is sometimes that institutions, it's not that they don't want to have the different units, they don't have the capacity to handle the different units under student services. And so we are trying in our work at the collaborative to be able to support our institutions and our leaders as much as possible to be able to fine-tune their student services departments to meet the students' growing needs. And so for the goal, our overarching goal is to strengthen student service systems for our partner and member institutions by building capacity, fostering collaboration, and also understanding and elevating the strategic role that student affairs play. I know that Prof. Apak mentioned earlier today that the institutions exist because of the students. If there are no students, there's essentially no institution. So they are sort of
Exactly.
the heart of the institution. And so we want to really elevate that strategic role and learn how we can better serve them. And with this, we hope to build a community of practice for our student affairs and student service leaders, deans of students across the continent. So this will take conversations like this into a more personal and a more targeted level so we can make proper progress. And we will do this also through peer exchanges and learnings on best practices that will support our students, and would also curate contextually relevant resources. Dr. Chidozie shared quite a number of books that would be helpful for student affairs. So I think even being able to develop our own resources that will support our student affairs professionals is a good one, and also encourage innovation in the ways and the strategies that we use to support students. So our target audience essentially is everyone on this call. We have the deans of students, the directors of student affairs, the heads of student life, counseling teams, health and wellness. And we want to point out that this list may be even much wider than this because different institutions have different units that sit under their student affairs, and they also go by different names as well. And so with this, I liked the enthusiasm, the contributions, the questions. And so I'd like to invite us to take this conversation on a deeper level, on a more personal level. So I'd like to invite as many of us that would like to join the Student Services Community of Practice. So you can be able to, you can scan the QR code on the slide deck, and you would fill out the form, and we can take these conversations, you know, more in the community, have it more targeted. So I'm also going to share the link in the chat so that if you do miss scanning the QR code, you will be able to follow the link and access the community of practice form. So thank you once again. Thank you. So it has been shared in the chat currently. And if you'd like to learn more about our student services system, or as we work to expand our offerings, you can visit the website. The webpage will link you directly to our student services page. You'll be able to read more about it. And you can also join the community using the link in the chat box. We have quite a few questions, but I think we would have to move those towards the community of practice meetings. So I really do want to thank our panelists for sharing their knowledge with us and their insights. But before we go, I want to invite us to fill out the evaluation form. We want to hear more about what you learned in the session, what kinds of areas you would want us to work on with regards to student services. And so I am just sharing that in the chat briefly so that we can fill it. This is also a way for us to gather more information, to also support our work as we begin the journey of supporting our students. So I have put that in the chat. I would also appreciate it if we are able to fill out the form. There are questions around resources that you would like to see. There are questions around strategies that you would like us to employ as we work on this important initiative. And so we would also love to take a photo to capture today's session. It's been a really good one. And so as many of us that can turn on our cameras, I would appreciate it if we can.
Yeah.
Yes, please, Dr. Baidu.
Yeah, I'm sorry. One of the links is taking us to Teams.
Okay,
You
just a
shared.
moment. I would check on that, Dr. Baidu. Thank you.
All right. The one that we have to join for the COP, Community of Practice.
Yes, please.
It takes us to Teams.
Yes, please.
And then asks us to open link in Teams.
Yes, please. Thank you. So if we can turn on our cameras, please, we would like to take a photo. So if we can kindly turn our cameras on so that we can capture today's session, I will count us down so that we can take the picture. And I have also shared the updated link in the chat. So you'll be able to go directly to the form to fill it out to join the community. I apologize for the error. All right, so I'll count us down so we can take the picture. And then we'll say student services. All right, so 3, 2, 1. Student services. All right, we'll do this one more time. 3, 2, 1. Student services. All right, let's do one more because there are quite a few of us on the Zoom. So I want to capture as many faces as I can. For the final time, 3, 2, 1. Student services. Great. Thank you all very much. So I have shared the links in the chat. The first one is the session evaluation. We'd like to hear from you and how we can work to fine-tune this. The next one is for you to join the Student Services Community of Practice. And if you would like to learn more about how we are empowering institutions to create student-centered support systems, you can also visit our Student Services webpage, and it has all the details for you. Thank you all very much, and I look forward to carrying these conversations beyond today's meeting. Thank you again, Prof. Daniel Apak. Thank you, Prof. Njoka, and thank you, Dr. Chidozie. We do have a few questions, so I will forward them to our panelists so that they can address it accordingly, and I'll share with the participants. Thank you again, and I wish you a fulfilling day and a restful weekend ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And have a blessed afternoon. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Prof. Apak.
Bye-bye. Goodbye.
Uche is an IT professional who faces a dilemma when a colleague expects her to cover up for his remote work, which is against company policy. Work in the office is piling up, and Uche feels uneasy lying by omission in online meetings. Uche knows what she thinks is right, but how can she get it done? What should Uche say and to whom? What information does she need to gather? How should she frame her position to appeal to her audience? What objections and pushbacks can she anticipate? And how might she react to them persuasively?
Welcome to Giving Voice to Value Africa. Raise your hand if you ever felt the need to speak up but were afraid of what it meant to do so. Creating awareness of ethics without addressing how to speak up or act is inspirational but not enabling. Many values conflicts in the workplace are predictable, yet people don't feel empowered to act, they rationalize not speaking up, or simply are unsure of what to do in order to be effective.
The GVV Africa course brings together the Giving Voice to Values framework with real examples of values conflicts